What is going on, everyone? We are here with another episode of the Spotlight series hosted by yours truly, ACK. Y'all know the drill at this point. I feel like I just keep saying the same thing over and over, but we're here with a new artist every day. I'm just excited. Well, not every day, every week, but I'm excited to have new artists on, just share their story through music because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, just making these connections in the music business, hearing people's stories, because sometimes you just hear people's music and you're like, oh, wow, they're a great singer, they're a great songwriter. But you don't know how they started in music sometimes. You don't know what they're doing in music behind the scenes. So it's always cool to kind of catch all that stuff. And today I have an artist here. I'm super excited to have her on. We're going to listen to a new single that she's releasing. And I'm excited for all of it. So it's Adara Kay. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you doing?
And not too bad. Just another nice day here. So I'm super excited to have this interview today. Obviously, kind of said it before the interview started. I just appreciate you taking time to out of your day to talk about your story through music because that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. I'm super excited.
No, of course. So obviously I'm just gonna jump right into the questions because people just love when I jump right into everything. And everyone knows I start with the basic of basics. Is it's where did everything start for you? So like music wise, like singing and playing, like just how did music kind of come about for you?
Well, I came out of the room screaming, so I blame that. No, but for real, I was always around music. It was always playing throughout the house growing up. Hank Senior, Hank Junior, Waylon, Willie, and the boys. You know how it goes.
Yeah.
So I guess really, I always wanted to be a singer. I would entertain for our family when I was probably like 3 or 4 years old on a Barbie karaoke machine, which that's crazy to even think about that. And then when I was in second grade, Rick Springfield was my first concert, and he pulled me up on stage. And so I got a taste of it very early on, that little adrenaline rush that I had no idea what it was. I was like, I want to do this.
Yeah.
I want to do this for the rest of my life. So from then on, I just started writing music during free time during school, got made fun of a lot. It's fine. And then I guess I started taking it pretty seriously when I was 17. So I was a junior in high school, getting ready to go to college and get things settled. And I wrote my first single at 17 years old, and then finally released it a year later.
No, that's awesome. I mean, it's always cool to hear people's stories in music because like some people like yourself, like they come out of the womb singing, like they come out humming nursery rhymes and all that fun stuff. But then like I always just compare it to my story is I only started song like I mean, if I start singing, people know glass will start breaking and all fun stuff like that. But I only started really getting into the music game back in 2018. Like I only started songwriting and producing then. And like I've always had that love and passion for music, but it's just crazy how some people can start like a couple of years ago like myself, and then some people start the day they were born just by humming, and then they grow more because they realize that's what they want to do and they started doing that as a kid. So it's always cool to really hear that kind of the upbringing of music in people's lives.
Yeah, for sure.
So kind of getting into the second question, and I feel like you kind of touched up on this a little bit with like Hank and all them. But obviously a lot of people know is I relate to a lot of artists like yourself and just country artists in general because that's what I grew up on. I grew up on that 90s, early 2000s country. My mom was always playing like Garth Brooks, Travis Tritt, Tim McGraw, like just all the classics. Back when Miranda Lambert was like really starting to come out, Carrie Underwood and all that fun stuff. So like I always really grew up on that. And I feel like you're probably going to have a lot of similar answers to what I probably have as inspirations too. So my question kind of is just who are some inspirations that you look up to in the music business?
Oh gosh, there's so many. It's hard to choose just a handful because there really is so many that lead paths for other artists to choose, and you have many different paths that you can take. So yeah, growing up I was always listening to the older country. Merle Haggard and Patsy and Dolly were probably three of my favorites. But then I was also raised on, Journey and
Yeah.
Fleetwood. So I had the rock elements already at a young age. And then growing up, the early Miranda, Gretchen Wilson, I attended, or yeah, I was more attracted to that side of the country than the steel, like after growing up. So yeah, I mean, there's just so many that have influenced, because I mean, I think Patsy and Leanne Rhymes, they kind of helped me with my voice,
Mhm.
but then Taylor Swift and Miranda and Gretchen kind of helped me with the songwriting styles.
Yeah.
And then the two have kind of mixed and matched.
Exactly. No, and that's super, super cool. It's just because back in the like the 90s, early 2000s, just that really storytelling aspect behind lyrics and stuff like that is really what drew me in and really what got me to love country music. I mean, I was listening to all different genres and stuff like that, but country really just had that place in my heart because of the songwriting, because of the storytelling.
Mhm.
Um, and then kind of just like a side note I always just like asking people too is what are like 3 songs right now in the music industry that like you're listening to?
Oh wow. Okay. So most of my stuff that I listen to now is more of the Texas side of things.
Mhm.
So I'm really big on like Austin Meade right now. Reed Southall, definitely his song Where We Belong. Like
Okay.
I can listen to it over and over and over all day, every day. And then, Co just released April Showers last week. So I'm like, okay, here we go. But then Caitlin Butts, she released a whole like album last week. And I'm like, okay, Texas, hey.
No, I mean, yeah, actually just touching up on Cole's not Cole, but I was just listening. I've literally been listening to that song on repeat for like the last like
Yeah.
3 days now. Um, so no, it's just always cool to ask people that question and ask them who their inspirations are because sometimes it goes back further than just what's kind of out right now.
Hmm.
And then we've kind of touched up on it a little bit with inspirations and talking about the lyrics behind songs. And the next question I'm going to ask is always one of my favorites. It's the creative process, because when it doesn't matter what genre you're in, whether it's country, rap, pop, R&B, it's just I don't think I've ever had the same answer twice on this show asking this question because the creative process is just so different and so unique. So kind of before I ask the question is I always have to quote him now because ever since he was on the show, I said like I'm quoting you until the day I die or until I stop making this podcast. So shout out to Garrett Walker or who was on the show, and the way he described the creative process was it's like a puzzle, whether you have 500 or 1,000 pieces. I mean, how people do 1,000 piece puzzles, I'm still not sure to this day, but like 500 I could maybe tackle. But still, you have them all laid out on the table. Like you're slowly like figuring out what pieces fit where. Like everything's just kind of all scrambled. But then you start putting these pieces together. You start working on the border. You start putting the middle together, and then piece by piece, you figure out everything like where what fits where, and then by the end, you have this whole masterpiece. You have this whole song. You have this whole picture that you can hang up and cherish for the rest of your life.
Mhm.
So the question is what is your creative process like when it comes to writing music?
A hot mess. I mean, honestly, sometimes it comes to me super fast, or sometimes it's going to take me a couple of years to do it. I need to be better at doing morning pages because I found when I did do those, I felt the wheels turning a little bit more, um, rather than when I don't do them.
Right.
So I mean, really, I usually start out with lyrics, but he explained it perfectly. It's like a puzzle.
Yeah.
You got to start with the border and then find out the middle parts. Sometimes I'm working on two puzzles at once and I'm mixing matching the pieces and I'm never going to get finished. But that's for me to find out in the long run.
Exactly. No, and it's always cool to just ask that question because it's so different. I mean, I know for me, like I just like the random stuff like just comes to me at like the most random times, like whether I'll be in the shower, whether I'm driving, or just stuff like that.
Yes. Yeah,
And
you have to use like the little voice memo on your phone. You're like,
yup.
don't leave me, don't leave.
No, literally, like voice memos are like the life. I think everyone brings that word up every interview when I
Yes.
ask this question is voice memos, is just because it's just, I know I have like hundreds and hundreds of voice memos on there. Some of them I probably still don't even realize that I have on there. And like every
Mhm.
once in a while, I'll just go back and like I'll listen to this because it just more started recently as I've kind of been taking a look at some of my older stuff that I've written over the last few years, and now like going back to it I'm kind of really figuring everything out, and I'm like, oh, okay, I kind of remember when this happened, and now I get back to it, and like I'm slowly starting to put that puzzle together because I realized that where those missing pieces were.
Hmm.
So it's always cool and unique to ask that question, just because the creative process is just so unique and so different for so many different artists.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. So getting into the fourth question, always the hardest question on the show. There's never a wrong or right answer to this. And I always tell artists this. Just because at the end of the day, if someone was to ask me this question, I don't know if I could even answer it. Like I would probably freeze up on it. Um, but there's so many platforms out there with Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify, just to really promote yourself, get more exposure. And it doesn't matter what genre you're in. Like I said, listen to all those genres before, is there's so many artists in every genre trying to make a name for themselves, trying to get their music out to different people. So the question is at the end of the day, what makes you you compared to all these other artists? What can we take away from your music that we can't find in anyone else's music?
So I am on TikTok, obviously, like everybody else. I got this comment. I don't know if he meant it as a compliment or not, but I took it. And now I'm like, this is my personality trait. They're like, is this a shot of Fireball and a Coors Light? And I said, thank you. Because that's exactly my personality trait. And I
Yeah.
really think I showcase that inside of my music. Because
Mhm.
I'm not just one genre. I'm not just country. I'm not just rock. Like I'm putting those elements together. And I told him, I live out in Nashville, but right now I'm back home in Oklahoma playing some gigs. And I told this lady one day, over at Universal, I said, I'm more Texas country, but I'm more the Co Wetzel than the Cody Johnson.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm a Spitfire.
No, that's awesome. And like it's just I can hear it in your music for sure. It's just like you have that country, you have that rock, like you're a mix of everything, and there's really no one that sounds like you. I think when we were talking the other day, like I heard like hints of like some big name artists in there, and you're gonna hear that in people when you
Absolutely.
really start listening to stuff like that. But if I was to put you in like a playlist, like, and I tell people this all the time, it's the best way to describe it. Like, I could put you in a playlist like with 100 different songs, but when that one song comes on that's yours, I'm like, oh, I know who that is. That's her. Like,
Yeah.
compared to all these other artists out there. And I mean, listening to your music, listening to the new song that you sent me over the other day that we're gonna listen to in a few minutes. Um, it's just you're you, and like you can clearly see that's who you are and that's what you're doing. And it best way to describe it is just I'm a big fan of what you're doing right now.
That that really means a lot. Thank you so much.
No, of course. Um, so obviously, before I get into the last question, kind of what I just wanted to ask like a little bit is you're playing down in Nashville and stuff like that, but you're home right now. So what's it like coming back home and playing some shows here than like being down in, because I feel like Nashville is definitely more scary, like to go down there and play shows there. What's it like coming home and playing a couple of shows?
It they're different worlds. They are
Yeah.
completely different worlds. I love Nashville. I do. But I realize that's not where I need to be. I
Mhm.
realize that's not who I am necessarily. I need to be here in Oklahoma, Texas, and getting my name known more out this way.
Yeah.
Um, it's just so different.
Right.
I was nervous to do the Broadway stuff, but it's just a big old party. It really is. Nobody cares if you mess up because they're messing up in the crowd. It's you feed off of each other. And then, coming home, I haven't played here in almost a full year back
Oh
home.
wow.
So we played our first show in over a year,
Mhm.
basically on Friday. That was the biggest turnout we've ever had.
Really? Yeah, you were telling me that the other day about that.
Just a good, like, welcome home.
Ex-
Like, hey, you are back, you are here, you are home.
yeah.
It's so different, but either way, both of them are such a journey to
No,
travel.
exactly. No, and I always just kind of like asking people that because I've been doing some interviews and it's been close to Easter and stuff like that. So a lot of people have been traveling home and just spending time with the family and stuff like that. So it's always cool to just kind of throw that in there and kind of ask about that because when people go home, they play shows and stuff like that. And I've been talking to a couple of different artists that are actually from around where I am in Boston, and like they were coming home and stuff, and they were like, you know what, maybe I'll play a show or two while I'm here. And like I was asking them, I was like, what's the transition like from like living in Nashville for like 2 or 3 years and then coming home like a year later to play? So, and they say
Yeah,
no, it's totally different. It's like a game changer, but at the same time you see those old friends, you see those old family, and like the crowd is just, it's a great welcome party back.
it is, I love it.
No, and that's awesome. So kind of getting into the last question here is looking at your future. You have some music out, you have this new song that's going to be releasing soon. um what are your goals as an artist? Like obviously you have some music out, but where do you want to go with your music, like short term, long term? Like what can we expect down the road from you?
Yeah, so like you said, I have a single coming out. Um, but I also have four others that are coming out soon as well. We're going to spread it out over 2022.
Mhm.
But really, I guess, I mean, short term is just trying to build up my brand, build up my name, build up the following,
Mhm.
still release music and write as much as possible. But I just want to meet people. I want to create those moments with people.
Yeah,
Because at the end of the day, yes, it's music, but it's about the moments you create with the music, with the people.
exactly.
Um, but yeah, so short term is just creating moments, and then long term is succeeding and being in those moments, like creating them, but being in them.
No, exactly. No, and I mean that's at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. And for artists like yourself, that's what I'm really drawn into as an answer like that is you want to engage with the crowd. You want to hear what the people want to hear from you and like what just to connect with the audience because I never like to bash anyone, but obviously sometimes when you get up there into fame, like a lot of big name artists and stuff like that, the fame somewhat slowly starts taking over a little bit, and then those record deals kind of slowly start taking over a little bit. And I feel like, I mean obviously they're selling out shows, don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, like they kind of lose a little, I'm not really sure exactly how I'm trying to describe it, but they lose a little touch with their fan base a tad bit. I mean obviously they still listen to their fan base and stuff like that, but it's always my favorite listening to answers like this for up and coming artists like yourself because that's, you're really engaged into the fan aspect of it right now.
Without them, I wouldn't be up there.
Exactly. No, it's just, it's plain and simple like that. And I mean, I know for me, a lot of friends and family, they were the ones that really started supporting my music and stuff like that. And without them and without writing the first song that I ever wrote, it's just, I don't know where any of this would have went if I didn't do any of it.
Right.
Yeah. No, so it's just always cool to ask all those questions. And that's kind of all the questions I have. And obviously, getting into the exciting part of the interview, I know it's the end and that's not exciting, but listening to a new song by you, that's always the exciting part. And I think, I can't remember if I was telling you the other day when we were on the call. I've had a bunch of different calls with a bunch of different interviews lately, but it started when Kelly and Kat were on the show. They're two sisters from New York, super, super talented. And usually I don't get chills a lot, but they gave me chills when they performed live on the show. And then I've had a couple other artists on since then. Like we've heard some songs, and then some artists have been playing songs, and I've been getting chills from like every song recently.
Oh, wow.
So how it works is it's either chills or go home. So like if I don't get chills from the song, then this interview may not air. But at the same time, I always tell people that and they're like, oh no. But no, so it's either chills or go home, because if I don't get chills, like we don't know what's going to happen with this interview. So it's just always exciting. But I listened to it the other day, the chills did come. I'm assuming they're going to come again when I listen to it. So kind of before we play a little bit of the song, if you want to just give us kind of like a little backstory on how this whole song came about.
Absolutely. So I was in a songwriting program in college over at Middle Tennessee State.
Mhm.
And I was in my songwriting class and we had to write a song. I was paired up with Olivia Floyd, and I was like, did you ever party in parking lots? He's like, you know what? Yes, like you're describing my hometown. I said, that's all we did. It's either in a parking lot or it was in a field. There was no in between. And I was like, what if those parking lots could talk? Like, it's terrifying to think about it. It
It
really is.
is.
I'm like, they have all of our secrets.
Mm-hmm.
And if they could expose us, like, what would we be exposed about? And so that's really how this song came about. Is it's called Parking Lots. But it's just, if parking lots could talk, what would they say about you? What would they spill? But yeah, we took a sense of freedom and invincibility of being, you know, that 17-year-old. You're not legal, you can't get caught yet. And we put it into a new perspective of our freedom was being in that parking lot or being in that field or just anywhere, really.
No, and that's awesome. I mean, because definitely when I first heard the song and I was really listening to the lyrics, I was like, I was thinking about it too. And I'm like, damn, like I was like, I've been to a few parking lots like where we just like hang out and stuff like that. And it's just like, damn, if those could talk, like I don't know where I'd be right now.
Mm-hmm.
So no, it's just like it's cool to hear songs like that because it just brings a whole different perspective to a parking lot. Like just think, like you said, just thinking about it, like what if parking lots like were human and they could talk, like all the stuff that they've seen and all that. So it's definitely a really cool and unique song, and I'm definitely a fan, and I'm excited to hear it.
Thank you.
So obviously we're gonna play a little bit of Parking Lot. And y'all know the drill is only gonna play a little bit of it because obviously I want y'all to go listen to it. It's gonna be out on Spotify and Apple Music, all that fun stuff. So gonna listen to a little bit of Parking Lot right now. In a town of one high school, two stoplights, three places in jail. We pass our time passing cigarettes in the line behind St. Street. In the down now, we just talk about all the roots that we didn't want to put down. Wondering if our parents ever felt like we do now. Thinking, oh, the things we know. If these parking lots could talk. Thinking, oh, the things we know. If these parking lots could talk. When you're young, everybody wants to know what you're gonna be. They just laugh when you tell them that we just want to be 17. The only thing we were worried about was the next time that we could sneak out and get back to the lights on the edge of town. And take 99 miles to them and 99 to the ground. Wondering if anyone's been as gone as we are now. And before it kicks into the second chorus, I'm gonna stop it there. I think the best part of just listening to that, obviously because people can't see the video for these interviews, before you guys could, but I've been doing it more of like a podcast style where it's just like my logo and the podcast part. But to just see an artist just jam out to their song like that, like I'm sorry to rat you out on that, but that's what makes an artist right there, is you were just jamming to your own song. And
Oh yeah.
that is like, and obviously I was over here singing the lyrics and stuff too, and it's just that just like that's who you are. And like that's just like, if you, because some artists are afraid to release some music because they're like, I don't know if people are gonna like this. They're like, I don't know, is this me, like are people gonna connect with this? And obviously that song 100% connects with you. You love that song, and I do have chills. Fun fact of the day.
Yes.
Yes.
So good for.
No, that is a great song. The production wise, just the vocals, the storytelling with the lyrics, just 10 out of 10 for me. And I can't wait to hear that song over and over on repeat.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to share this.
No, of course. And obviously going back to that fifth question, obviously when you said you have some more songs coming out as well, I'm just excited to hear a lot of those different songs, and I'm definitely on the ride with you. And I know once people hear this interview, they'll definitely be on the ride with you as well.
I sure hope so.
Yeah. No, so that's kind of all we have for today. Obviously I had a blast talking to you about your story, hearing that song. And just kind of before I do my little outro here, like people normally do, is where can we find you on social medias?
Ah, everywhere. You can find me on every single platform underneath Adara Kay Music. I do this series on TikTok. It's called A Shot in a Song.
Yep.
So I take a shot and I play a song.
I've been tuning into all of those. I've been looking at
Yeah.
all of them.
But yeah, Adara Kay Music.
No, awesome. I mean, y'all definitely need to go check her out. She is super, super talented. And yeah, just keep coming on. You guys know the drill is every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern. We release a new Jesus, I can't even speak anymore. We release a new episode every Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern. Y'all know the drill. That's why I'm getting screwed up because I say it too many times in an interview. But Adara, thank you again so much for taking time to be on here today.
Thank you so much for having me, man.
No, of course. So yeah, that's it for today, folks, and I'll see you all next week. Thanks for tuning in.